Happy Friday, artists. It is our last Friday together. So I am a little bit sad, but I did bring with me a really fun project to do. This is one of my favorites, my friend, the sea turtle. So for those of you who are very excited about sea turtles, just like I am, this is a really fun one to do. I do want to mention that you can follow me on YouTube. I will have all, if not most, of my videos up very soon. All of the videos that we've done this year should be up on my YouTube channel, which is Mrs. Herbst something. I don't know. You have to look up Mrs. Herbst on YouTube, and you should find a face that looks sort of like this one that has art videos. There are not many Mrs. Herbsts with art videos. In fact, I probably am the only one. So go take a look, and if you'd like to find any videos that you might have missed, they should be up there. If you'd like to repeat any videos that you might have missed, they should be up there too. And I will be putting some more up this summer. I promised my students that are in my classroom right now that I would put some up. So for today, we've got our sea turtle. It is our final project. It is drawing from life. So this is a really fun one to do. Let's hop in right away. All right. So here we have our friend, the sea turtle. And this is the final project, drawing from life, our sea turtle. All right. Today's objective is to represent objects and background drawing from a still life photo. We're going to look at shapes and proportion just like we did with the jellyfish last week. We're going to look at textures and colors, and we're going to think of different techniques that can inspire us to repeat sort of the gesture. So, okay, there are a couple of things. These are two real life in the water photos. Notice how when we see them in the water kind of dulls out this really pretty color that they have on them. So this bright reddish color turns almost to this just black greenish color right here that doesn't really stand out a whole lot. We can do some things about that because color is definitely something that artists can do something about. But some of that we want to keep. So painting over all of this, woo, I just moved way ahead of myself. Painting over all of this with blue is one of the things that we're going to do. And it is going to mute out the colors a little bit. But we're going to remember that that's sort of having water in front of us and behind the sea turtle. So water in front of us and between us and the sea turtle is going to make it look a little more blue. So we're going to use that. That's one technique that we have in our back pocket. Another one is any of this color that we love, we can repeat. So some of this, there's this really beautiful light orangey, reddish color in here, which is so pretty. And then look at all these sort of squares or rectangles that are drawn in here, that are not drawn, that are in here, these really beautiful scales. So we're going to replicate that too. Notice the shape of the fins. They go up and back. They come out and back. We're going to replicate that. You can see that in these fins. And then notice this hexagon shape, this six-sided shape right here. Okay, notice that six-sided shape. That's a very common shape that you will see all over in nature. Okay, like I said, we can do a lot with color. That's what artists do. So if we don't like the colors of the original sea turtle or the picture of the sea turtle, there is a lot we can do about that. Color is one of those things that while we're representing something, we may not be able to change all the shapes. We want it to look like a sea turtle, so we'll keep some of the shapes the same, but we can definitely do something about color. Notice I did. So here we have these just fun representations that are uber colorful. Okay, your materials for today, paper. This is thick paper. We want to use thick paper. We're watercoloring today, so you want to use some thick paper. We're going to use tape. If you don't want to use the tape, sometimes you rip the paper. I did. I wasn't fast. I didn't wait till it had totally dried. Ripped it a little bit. If you're really worried about that, just paint all the way to the edges and draw all the way to the edges. It is not the end of the world if you don't use the tape. But it is one of those big, huge surprises that is so much fun to take the tape off at the end. Oil pastels, we're going to use our oil pastels. Those are the oily ones, the ones that sort of leave that weird feeling on your fingers. They're not the ones that you would take outside to draw on the chalk, to draw on the sidewalk. These are the ones that are oily, not chalkboard chalk. And we're going to use our watercolor paint. So the watercolor paint is the paint set that you received and a pencil. We're going to draw everything out first with a pencil. So that's it. Our norms are art. We anticipate mistakes. They're going to happen. I had a big one in my project and I'm going to make it again deliberately while we work together so that you can see how I fix it. We're going to respect the creative process and we're going to try until we're satisfied. And that's just what we do. You keep working at it until you like it the best. All right, let's hop on in and get started. Okay, so like I said, I have taped my picture. For those of you who think that taping ruins the picture because it pulls off some of the paper, if you do have that problem, then don't tape it. Yeah, it's not going to be, this is not going to make or break the picture. I just love that look when you have the white border on the edge, especially when you have stuff like watercolor paint. So you can see I've taped mine. I'm just, pushed lightly down on the edges. And now I'm coming in with my pencil. So I'm going to draw this. I'm going to come in and draw just a little oval here. And this oval is going to go a little bit further, like the middle of this oval is going to be right in the middle of my paper. So if you wanted to, you could have made a dot there. And I'm just going to come over and draw the oval, like just a bump. Okay. And then I'm going to come right from the middle. I'm going to come out with a long, it's like almost like the letter J if you look at it this way, down to a point. So I'm going to come out and come down to a point. And then I'm going to come from this point, I'm going to come back to here, but I'm going to go up first. So I'm going to make a little curve up and then down and then in. So it goes like this. I may go up, down, up, and back in. Okay, and that is the head right here. And if you want to just extend where this comes up, you can see where the bottom of the mouth goes. So I'm going to just show you that again. I like the way I drew it, but I'm just going to show it to you again on repeat because it's hard. So you draw first this J or this line that kind of curves here. And then I'm going to go up a little bit and then down and then up and then in. So like this. And where it comes up, you can just draw a line in there. And there's the mouth. Okay. Now I'm going to leave about a finger of space between the neck and where the first fin is going to come out. It's going to come out and bend back toward the back of the body. And then it's going to come out. I'll give it maybe a little bit of space and it's going to come out and it's going to actually bend bigger. So that fin is going to get bigger. And I'm going to do the same thing here, about a finger with the space. And this one's going to go out and bend back. And then this, maybe I could just draw a little line right there. Okay, so now we see that we have these fins and they just go right off the page. So you don't have to worry. I'm going to go in about to where I think the eye would be. And I'm going to draw a black eye with a big white circle around it. Okay, and now we're pretty much, this is sort of the easy part is to get that, or the hard part is to get that shape in. So now we're going to go, I'm going to draw another little ring in here. This is going to be not, I don't need a big line, a big ring, but I just want to have a little border here because I'm going to start drawing in the turtle shell. And the way you draw in the turtle shell is you draw in hexagons. So those hexagons, 6-sided figures. Those are sort of a magical biology shape, and you find them all over in biology, like the honeycomb of the bees, but also the painted turtle. So you just start by going one side, and then 2 sides that come out, and then those hit in a point, and they make 2 sides that go back in, and then 1 side on the other side. Okay, so then now this will be my first side that I start on. I have 2 sides that come out this way. I have 2 sides that come back in, and then another flat side. And these are not perfect. It's okay. So I have one of these is going to be my flat side. Then these are going to be the ones that come out. I'm going to have 2 more that come in, and then another flat side. This will be one there, 2 that come out, 2 that come back in, and another flat. And they don't have to be perfect. Okay, 1. So this is kind of weird. So these must be the point. This must be a flat side. So I'm just going to kind of make, and when I get to the end like this, I'm just going to draw a line. So here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't know where this is going to go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These are hard to figure out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oops, I don't know where that goes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then as we get to, it gets a little easier. Sometimes they get bigger, sometimes they get smaller. These are all going to just end right here. And the middle ones can be really big. You just start drawing 6-sided figures that kind of come together. Okay, so there we go. Now these are my shapes here. We have to draw more shapes to fill in. We draw these, they're like little individual square, round little squares. And these round little squares just fill in. They don't have to be the same shape. They're not even totally square. Some of mine are. They just fill in. They fill in the arms. Okay, and we're going to do that. They're not all equal. I like to draw them separately because that feels a little bit more. If I just drew like this and then drew lines, it wouldn't look as good actually. So I think it looks better when you take the time to draw not perfect ones, but you actually draw individual ones, because that's sort of how a scale feels, like an individual thing. And I'm going fast in drawing these. Okay, now sometimes here the turtle sticks their neck out, so I'm just going to put a little collar on him. Not really a collar, it's just a little neckline. And that we're done drawing it. So I'm going to come in. I think for me the most one of the most exciting ways to draw this is to use the lighter green and to trace over all of these lines on the outside. So I'm going to trace all of these lines on the outside. Every line that I made, I'm going to trace. And this light green, so that means that line and this line. And then, yes, all of these little lines in between. So this is time consuming. I'm going to speed this up a little bit. Okay, I'm going to come in with black. I have traced all of this with light green. I'm going to come in with black. I'm going to do the giant circle around here and the eye in between. That got huge. Oh well. And then I'm going to come in with my dark green. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to color. Not perfectly by any means. I'm going to come in and color this. And it's okay if some of that black gets in there. That's no problem. And I'm also going to come in here and I'm just going to put, notice how I'm not coloring this in all the way. I'm just coloring a little zigzag in each one of these little squares. And I'm going to do the same on the arm over here. This is not a lot. This is how we make texture, though. So if you look at this texture, you're going to feel something sort of bumpy. And that's how I'm accomplishing that, is by making little squares and little darks and lights together. And that makes the effect of feeling bumpy. Okay. We're doing such a good job. I forgot to do this. I'm going to come back in with my light green, and I'm going to color in that neck part. And now here is what I love the most. So this is sort of like a painted turtle. I'm going to do a yellow dot in the middle of each one of these. It's probably more like a sea turtle, but I'm going to make it just really bright and painted. So it's yellow in the middle of each one. And the bigger the square is, the bigger the hexagon is, the more yellow I'll put in. The smaller it is, the smaller. Now I'm going to come in with some orange and make a little circle, a little zigzag circle around the yellow. I'm going to color actually on some of the yellow. I'm just making a little circle, zigzag circle around each one of these. And where I can't go all the way around, I'm just going to go halfway around. Notice I'm just going halfway around on these half parts. And here I'm going to go all the way around, just a zigzag, almost like I'm making a sun. And see here, I just draw right off on there to keep that little flow going. Okay, I broke my cray paw. Sometimes you get other colors in here, and that's okay too. I'm just going to leave it. You won't really notice that. If it does anything, it'll just make it look really neat. So I'm coming in with all of the orange, making a circle. That was a really tight circle, not very zigzaggy, but if you look at any animal that you see, it will not be perfect anywhere. Even though as a whole, it looks really interesting. Okay, so this does take some amount of time, but as you can see, it's not terribly long. And now I'm going to come in with red all the way at the end. And I'm going to try not to color all the way to the end of this. I don't want to mix in that red and that green together. So I'm just going to kind of come in and go around and try and leave as much of the orange there as I can. Oh, I broke this one too. And I'm trying to make it zigzaggy, but again, I don't have a lot of room in here to color. I just want to try hard not to touch too much of that green. Again, this takes a bit of time. Ooh. Okay. That was a lot of work. My hand is kind of tired. Okay, and for the last bit, I'm taking white. It can be a dirty white, I don't mind. We're gonna get some other colors in here probably, and I'm just gonna color all of this ridge in here, white. Okay. You wanna put a little bubbles in here or something, I don't know. I'm not gonna put anything in there. I'm just gonna leave the background really nice and blurry. I'm not gonna draw any white in here, but if for some reason you do want to, that is your prerogative. Okay, so now we have our water and our watercolor paint. So I'm going to go into my blue, and I'm going to get some water soaking in there. Okay, I'm going to get some water soaking in there. Now I have a lot of blue on my brush. I don't want the blue on my brush. I'm just getting the water soaking so that when I dip my paintbrush in there, it's really, really blue. I'm going to rinse off my paintbrush, nothing on it. And I'm going to take some water and I'm going to wet down the paper where the empty space is. And the water is soaking right on in, but that's okay. No problem for me. I'm just doing it in the water spaces, the empty spaces. I'm not going over here. I'm just going into this water area. And I'm actually going to come back. I see it drying up over here. I'm going to come back in there, get that piece off. And then just this one over here. So I'm not going over this part or this part. I'm just going over the water. So now I'm going to come back in with my blue, and it has really softened it up. And I'm just going to come in here and paint right in. And actually, I don't have to be too careful, because what I'm going to do is with my paint, with the paint that has not been wet yet, the paper that hasn't been wet, I'm just going to come in and paint over it. Oops, and I was going to try and leave the eye open. So I'm coming in with my blue, and here where I've painted water already, it's really, really loose. And where I haven't painted with water, the paint is really coming in strong. And that's kind of what I want. I wanted the stronger blue to come in over here. And I'm going to do the same thing with blue on these shells and these tortoise shell parts. Coming in with my paint, and I'm painting right over the oil pastel. Pretty gentle with it. Add a little water to make it flow a little bit better. And then here. And finally, the blue over here. Now, there are certain parts on him that are more green than blue. Obviously, this area that is, I'm going to come in with a little bit of green and just dab that green into his fins. Over there and over here. So now we have like a green blue just on his fins. Now some of this extra stuff, you can wait until it dries and sort of wipe it down because this paint will eventually bead up and sort of come off of the surface. But you can also take like a paper towel or even just like a wash rag. I have a wash rag and you can dab it off of some of that oil pastel. So you can just dab it up a little bit. And you can see how I'm just hurrying up the process of drying actually. So my paper, I missed a little bit of water in here. And you know, you can also come in with another color like for the water. Sometimes purple is sort of pretty in that water. We don't have any purple in this. Take it all anyway. So maybe just a couple little areas of purple. Or indigo. We mixed blue and purple together. And just like that, this painting is finished. Do you see how easy that is? One more there. And as soon as it's dry, you can feel free to come in and pull back all that tape. So let's give it just a minute to dry and I'll pull that tape back with you. So let's see. Maybe I'll pause it until it's dry. Okay. So it is pretty dry and we are going to take off. Remember the flatter you pull it back and the slower you go, the less chance of tearing that you'll have. So I did tear some here. It's always possible to just sort of pull away from the picture too, to stop some of that tearing. And I also did not wait until it's totally dry, so this is partly on me. I'm kind of stuck under this one. I'm going to pull this back. And again, as soon as I see it start to, if I go really slowly, it's to work much better. There is something so gratifying to me about seeing this white border and how the unpredictable nature of watercolor and the sort of scribbling feeling of the oil pastels is contrasted by this sharp border. And it always really finishes the drawing for me. Oops, here I am ripping the paper a little bit. So I immediately stop and I start pulling down like really straight away from the picture. And I can see my paper rip was getting smaller, so I kept going. And then just pull slowly If I had gone a little slower or waited till this was totally dry, I probably would not have had this problem. But there we go. Completely finished our little sea turtle. I think if I was going to do this again, I wouldn't do that black eye so hard or so harsh. In fact, some of me wants to just go in there and see if I can take some of that out. This might be a dangerous maneuver with my eraser. Looks kind of like a shadow now, doesn't it? Yeah, this might be too dangerous, but so if you do what I just did and you come in here and you don't, I didn't like this, so I tried to erase it. And it's not erasing terribly well, as you can see. But I'll show you one way you can correct this problem. I'm still going to erase it. I'm wiping the eraser off because it can get a lot of oil on it. So I'm just going to rub the eraser off. This is just a good tip or a trick to show you. So once I can feel that my eraser is getting, you can see that the oil pastel is kind of getting bunched up here on the eraser. I wipe off the eraser and start again. So I'm just picking up some of this oil pastel. It didn't do what I wanted it to, which was pick it up better, probably because the paper around here is a little bit damp. And sometimes you can pick it up really well. But in any event, I'm going to come in here and pick up as much of it as I can. And this is not, I just didn't like that big black line. So I didn't like the big black line. This looks a lot better to me, even when it's thin like this. And I can come in at the end with some white and just go over this. And I actually like that so much better. To me, that feels better. Go closer. And if I wanted to get rid of it entirely, I wanted to get rid of that circle entirely, I could come in with my dark green again. And I could even blend it out of there a little bit. So these are very, oil pastels end up being very forgiving. Oops. There we go. Now, just sort of scraping away some of this extra. Hard not to, it's just hard not to keep, or not to, hard to stop working on a piece. Oh, if this was me, I probably would work a little more with my nail, maybe giving a little more texture in here. I love how that looks. I just discovered that with my nail. I might also come back in here and scrape away some of this area. See how I'm doing this to make these colors even brighter. And I could even come in the middle of some of these and make that yellow stand out brighter. But this for sure could make a really big impact. And this is really fun to do. You can see with my nail, coming in here is pretty fun. And again, when you lighten lights and you darken darks, you get a lot of really great texture. So. There you go. My turtle is complete. All right. How did you do? How did your eye turn out? I went in even a little bit more. I'm going to hold this up to you really closely and look at how I kind of went in on, with my nail on the shell. I just love the way that looks. I love the way it turned out. It's really bright and really brilliant. And yet we still got that look like the turtle is in the water, right? We still see some of that blue on the turtle, but it's kind of holding in there in a really, and it's reflecting, and it's the more notice, the more we pull out this these lights on there, the more that it ends up being, it ends up feeling textury. It almost feels 3D, doesn't it? That's what I love. Okay, so please send me something, send me your work, send me anything at maggie.herbst@stromanschool.com. Look for me on YouTube, Mrs. Herbst. I hope I see you. I hope you leave me some comments and subscribe to my channel so that if I make my videos this summer, or when I make my videos this summer, you guys can give me some feedback and tell me how you like them. I'm really going to miss working with you. This was an awesome experience. Have a great summer. Have a fantastic rest of your school, last couple days of school, and hopefully I will get to see you again. Take care.